successfully built a software business that was acquired by a public company, about a $5 billion business. 31 years old. I'm at the pinnacle of the mountain. Life is seemingly perfect at this point. And he looks me dead in the eyes and he says, I'm not doing well today. He said, I had to bury my 26-year-old son today. I'm in New York City. I'm getting ready to present at NASDAQ with the CEO of the parent company. For somebody who's a tech entrepreneur, this is like your dream. It's like build a company, sell it, be on Wall Street, live on CNBC talking about your company. I see the caller ID and it's my mother-in-law. Immediately, I knew something was wrong. So instead of answering the phone and saying hello, I said, what happened? She said, Brooklyn's in an ambulance going to the hospital. We don't know what's going on, but doesn't look good. The majority of cases when this happens in the home, it's fatal to the mother. And I get a message that says something to the effect of, brace yourself. It doesn't look like she's going to make it.
I don't know how you hold it together, bro. I'm trying to hold it together with you saying it.
That moment really made me feel like we were one in some ways.
This is the Mr. Burr Show.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Today is a treat for you guys, to say the least. I have a man on the show today that, he's been through some crazy things over the last couple of years. We're going to get into it. Really something unimaginable. Now, when I heard about this, it really had me almost in tears. Almost lost his wife. Put yourself in those shoes, getting that call. We're going to get into it. And how he's overcome it. But it's not just about that. That's the main thing. But the man I have on today is extremely successful. He actually founded a company from zero, about 3 years in, exits for high 8 figures. So we're going to get a lot of business stuff. We're going to get a lot of how to actually take your business to the next level if you have one, mindset, and we're going to get into something that's probably you might get a little bit of waterworks going on. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you guys the man, the myth, the legend, Tyler Hall. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. It's an honor to be here and really excited about what you're doing with the podcast. So let's rock it. I appreciate the intro. I think the intro it's very kind. I work with CEOs of medium to large size software businesses. And we work on this exercise called the I am statement. Okay, and the idea of the I am statement is to try to decouple your business from your identity, right? Specifically when you've had some success, you've been a CEO of a company, it becomes easy to say, hey, Tyler, who are you? I'm a CEO, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business builder, I'm a money guy, and I think once you can decouple who you really are from your business, your identity from your business, it's incredibly meaningful. So the way that I would introduce myself would be to say something like, my name's Tyler Hall. I'm a father to 4 beautiful children. I'm a husband to a loving wife. I'm a child of God. I am an avid motorcycle racer, sports enthusiast, an avid smoker of brisket. And I also happen to build a company that was very successful on the side.
Because it's not what really matters, right?
For sure.
What really matters is the people that we're close to, the relationships that we build. And what's your wife's name?
Her name is Brooklyn.
That's my soon-to-be daughter's name, right?
That's right.
Brooklyn.
It's a good name.
It's a great name. I think it's spelled a little different.
My wife's has an E in there, so it's Brookelyn.
Yeah. So ours just doesn't have the E.
No E. Yep.
But yeah, man. So I agree 100%. Is a lot of people say like, who are you? This is one thing that makes me think about that is like, your name is Tyler Hall, right?
Yeah.
But like, that's not who you are. That's just something that was given to you. It's a possession, right? Like this is my phone. My name is Devin Burr. That's just things that belong to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like you don't ever say, I'm hand. Say my hand.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of times people put these things on themselves. They're like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I'm a this. I'm a that. It's not really who you are. So, dude, you hit it right on the head.
Thanks,
love it.
brother.
I love it. Let's jump into. I know it's hard for you to talk about, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's gotten easy to talk about. What happened with your wife? A few years ago now. So,
Yeah, it was actually last year, believe it or not. So it's still relatively fresh. I think to set the stage for the story, it's important to understand where I was at that point in my life. So I'd successfully built a software business that was acquired by a public company, about a $5 billion business. I'm 31 years old. I'm at the pinnacle of the mountain. I've got money. I've got a healthy family. I'm an executive in a public company. Life is seemingly perfect at this point. It was October of 2021. Fast forward 5 months, and I'm on a business trip. And I'm in Houston, Texas, and I get to the hotel. I'm staying at a Marriott. Jump on the elevator. As the elevator doors are closing, a man sticks his arm in the elevator to get on the elevator with me. He hops in. I just look at the man. I say, hey, man, how are you? Middle-aged man, probably 55, 60. And he looks me dead in the eyes and he says, I'm not doing well today. He said, I had to bury my 26-year-old son today. And I'm pretty down. And it totally caught me off guard. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there and I listened. And he said, he was a good kid. He wasn't into drugs. This was totally unexpected. And I'm really struggling with it. And he said, man, I don't know you. I don't know if you have a family or if you have kids. But if you do, just hold them really, really close because you never know when it's going to be their last day. The door's open. I open my arms to give the guy a hug. I give him a big hug. He walks away. The door's closed. I'm still on the elevator. And I just break down. And I get up to my floor. I'm emotional. Get back to my room. I FaceTime my wife. I said, I just had this experience. It was crazy. It really put things into perspective for me. That I haven't been there enough for the kids and for you. And I feel like I've been a bad father. I can be better. And she's given me a ton of grace. Like, no, you're great. You've been awesome. You've just been working hard. And I document this whole thing. It was this really surreal moment for me. Exactly 1 month later, I find myself again traveling. I'm in New York City. I'm getting ready to present at NASDAQ with the CEO of the parent company. This is like, for somebody who's a tech entrepreneur, this is like your dream. It's like build a company, sell it, be on Wall Street, live on CNBC talking about your company. It's a big deal. I wake up on a Tuesday morning. It's March 1st of 2022 to my phone ringing. And I see the caller ID and it's my mother-in-law calling. And it's 5 a.m. Arizona time. And immediately I knew that something was wrong. So instead of answering the phone and saying hello, I said, what happened? And she said, Brooklyn's in an ambulance going to the hospital. We don't know what's going on, but doesn't look good. I hang up the phone. I text my assistant. I say, hey, I can't do this thing today. I got to get home. Something's happened to my wife. Call a car. I'm in the Uber. I'm getting text message updates from my father-in-law. And the messages are, hey, just got to the hospital. Hey, they just got her in for an ultrasound. Hey, they found 2 liters of blood in her abdomen. She's been bleeding out. And the next message was, at this point, I'm at the gate, ready to get on the airplane. Next message is a picture of the whiteboard in the hospital, of the diagnosis that the doctor had written down. It says ruptured ectopic pregnancy. I go to Google. I Google this. I realize that in most cases, the majority of cases when this happens in the home, it's fatal to the mother. And at that moment, my whole life changed. I sort of went into tunnel vision. I really went into sort of a state of shock when this happened. You know, when bad things happen in life, they typically will just tend to work themselves out. You hit a low, you come back. You hit a low, you come back. Well, in this case, it wasn't going to work itself out. It's like, there's a chance that I'm going to lose my wife. I get on the plane. The next 4 updates are, they just rushed her in for an emergency surgery. 1 hour later, still in surgery. 1 hour later, still in surgery. 1 hour later, still in surgery. And at this point, we had delivered 3 babies. And the doctor is in the room for 15 minutes when you deliver a baby. And as we're descending, I get a message from my father-in-law. By the way, I'm feeling just all the feelings, all the emotions. I'm feeling so guilty that I'm not there to like be a part of these last moments of her life. And I get a message that says something to the effect of, brace yourself. It doesn't look like she's going to make it. And you know, I obviously get super emotional. Hard to keep it together. Guy next to me, I'm in a window seat in coach. I've got a big guy next to me. I'm very uncomfortable. I'm crying. I'm sort of sweating, breathing hard. And he's like, hey, man, or like, I remember this. He's like, hey, man. He's like, it's like, you gonna be all right? I'm like, I literally couldn't say yes or no. I was so in shock at what was happening that I couldn't even talk. There was no words in that moment. And we land. I'm running through the airport. I get into my car. You know, I basically, at this point, what's going through my mind is that she's gone, but my father-in-law's not telling me that. Like, she's gone, but he's gonna wait until I get there to really tell me the truth. And so I'm just I don't know how death works in this case when it's like a spouse. I don't know if they keep her there for a certain amount of time before they, take her away. And so the thing that's going through my mind is like, well, one of 2 scenarios. Either A, she is hanging on, and I can just get there to get one more moment with her. Or B, she's passed away, but I'm going to try to get there before they take her body, right? So I'm in this Uber. I have a similar experience. I'm sort of very emotional, almost hysterical in the back seat of this car. And the driver, same thing, is trying to talk to me, hey, is everything okay? And I'm just like, my wife is dying. I need you to hurry. And it's probably I wonder if that Uber driver's ever heard this story. Because it was probably a pretty interesting moment for them too. And so we get to the hospital. I run past the emergency room reception decks to the to the elevator. I go up 2 floors. I get to our room, and I walk in the room, and the first observation that I made was that the heart rate monitor was still going. It was still beating. So I had this sort of overwhelming feeling of gratitude, like, well, this is great. I get to spend more time. I get one more moment to just kind of feel her heartbeat and feel her breath. And, I sit by her bedside, and I ask her father-in-law, I say, hey, how's she doing? Like anything, any progress, anything? And right as I said that, she had this really bad reaction, this like seizure-like reaction. And doctors had to come in the room, and nurses, and it was this really sort of scary thing. And they get her calmed down. It was the only night of my life that I can recall that I did not sleep for even 1 second. Not even one. I don't know that I blinked because I was so asphyxiated on the heart rate monitor. And I'm at a vantage point where I'm staring across my wife on what could be her deathbed and the heart rate monitor. And I'm just praying, like, please keep going, right? Like, sometimes this is easy to tell, but sometimes it's not. And I think today's one of those days. So we get through that night, and things are kind of the same the next day, but she's still alive. And doctors come in, and she's on a double blood transfusion, so she has blood being pumped into her system from both arms. And they're monitoring her blood, or the way that her body is receiving the blood. Wasn't great the first night. We get through a second night. Still wasn't great. Still up in the air, like whether or not she's going to make it. By day 3, she's starting to do better, and it's kind of coming out of it. We saw a lot of miracles in there. There was a lot of prayers and a lot of fasting, which is a practice where a large group of people won't eat food for a certain amount of time. They're going to give something up to try to receive special blessings. And I remember sitting by her bedside on day 3 and just saying, hey, what do you remember? We're having a conversation. I said, do you remember when you had this like seizure thing that first night when I got to the hospital? And she said, yeah, when I heard your voice, it gave me life. And that was a pretty special moment because, I always thought about our relationship as we're 2 individual people. We're independent. Yeah, we need each other. We rely on each other. We love each other, but we're independent people. And that moment really made me feel like we were one in some ways. Like together we can actually save each other's lives, physically or emotionally or spiritually. And spent a few more days in the hospital, really tough. We get home. It was a really hard next couple of months. But the silver lining here, the blessing, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is that she made it, and she started becoming healthy, and is so healthy today that we actually, against all odds, we just had our fourth child. Again, we lost the last one, obviously, in that process, but I learned a lot about myself through that experience, and I live my life in a much more intentional and meaningful way than I used to. And no longer do I think about where am I going to get my next dollar. That's maybe the biggest shift, if I can even say that, is that my priorities are straighter than they've ever been now. And that feels really good. So that's my story.
I don't know how you hold it together, bro. I'm trying to hold it together with you saying it. Because I put myself in your shoes.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. My wife is my best friend. It's a beautiful story. I appreciate you sharing. I hope just everyone listening can get value from the almighty dollar is not, it's not important. It's really not, because I know for a fact you'd give up every last penny you have in that situation. If someone said, look, we can guarantee your wife comes back.
No question. I'd go in debt for eternity for it.
Right. Dude, I was trying to keep it together. I'm telling you, like, I was close to waterworks several times there, man. Like, cause I can put myself in that situation and just losing a kid, unborn child, obviously, but,
Yeah.
all the same, like you start thinking like that child will be what, about 1 now?
Yeah.
So you start thinking like, what would they have been like?
Yeah.
It goes to show a lot of just really what your character is, like what you place value on. And you said at the beginning, like, how would you introduce yourself? Father, husband, child of God, several things before, and I'm a pretty successful business owner on the side.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, right? So, like, that happening, that situation, a lot of times when something like that happens, it's an awakening, right? It awakens us up to like, what am I really focused on? What am I putting priority on? And then you get super, super clear, like you said, on what my priorities are, what really matters. And when you do that, you obsess over being the best father you can, right? You obsess over being the best husband you can. You obsess over spending every second with these people because you don't know how long they're going to be around, right? I'm a firm believer that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So indirectly, did that wake-up call help your business life also accelerate? Because now you're so dialed in on being a great husband, a great father, present. But again, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Yeah.
So did that actually indirectly help business?
I think there's this really unpopular word specifically in the world that I come from, which I call Silicon Valleyville, right? So you think about Startupville, you think about venture capital, early stage startups, and that word is balance, right? And you hear people talk about balance all the time. Well, it's impossible to achieve balance. You can't do it if you want to be part of the top 1%. You gotta sacrifice. Really what they're saying is you got to go fuck up all of your relationships, your health, mental health, physical health, your sleep patterns, your habits, your routines. You got to go forget about all that. You got to just go grind. You got to be doing 80 hours minimum a week. And that's what I did. And
Prior to your wife?
Prior to my wife. And hindsight's 20/20. You might say, well, that was probably the right thing, right? Depends. And I haven't come to grips with like, was it right or was it wrong? It just is. It happened. Mm-hmm. It's done. Mm-hmm. And all I can do now is live a lot more intentionally moving forward. I spent 10 years never being fully present when I was with the ones that I loved the most. My wife, my close friends, my parents, my kids. I could be in the room. Maybe I made time an hour a night, but I wasn't present.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so there, this experience certainly changed me in a lot of ways. But I do think that if you can unlock balance, and I think about this more as, I ask men all the time, what do you want? It's a really hard question to answer. Their typical response is, well, what do you mean? And I just say, I mean what I said. What do you want? And they start naming stuff. Well, I want more money. I want a car. I want and then I'll say, what is the one thing you're trying to achieve or feel? And the normal answer here in 70% of cases, well, I want to be happy. Okay, well, what do you mean you want to be happy?
What does that look like?
Well, when I'm happy, I feel good. Well, what does that mean? Well, if I just had more money and I could go buy the thing, then I would be more And I say, I said, are you sure? Typically my response, are you sure the word isn't you want to have more purpose or you want to be more fulfilled? Are you sure those aren't the words? This happened yesterday, Devin. Well, I think happiness and fulfillment are the same thing. Well, newsflash, by definition, definitely not.
Right.
Without definition, still not, okay?
Right.
These are not the same things. I think fulfillment is, by definition, in my opinion, wrong. I believe fulfillment is a word that was created to mean something different to everybody. Because if you ask 10 people what the definition of fulfillment is, you get 10 different answers. But I think it's meant to be that way, okay?
Right.
The way that I think about fulfillment is if you could imagine a heart in your chest and you carve that heart into maybe 5 slices of a pie. And those 5 slices represent a full heart, being fully filled, okay?
Fulfilled.
Okay. And you think about, well, what are the 5 things that would allow me to be fulfilled? It might be, okay, I can't speak for everybody here. For me, relationships, number 1, hands down, no question. And might even say that's the purpose of this life, is to develop deep and meaningful relationships. Number 2, health, physical and more importantly, mental health, okay? Health is wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, mindset, okay? The things we believe, the things that we manifest, okay? Number 4 could be things like love, okay? It could be spiritual. It could be balance. Get this? It could be happiness, joy, right? So you figure out what makes up my pie and how do I get each of those slivers to maybe 70 or 80%? Okay? How do I get to an area of balance where my 4 or 5 or 6 things that are most important in my life are optimized? My pie before, okay, money was in the pie and it was full. But everything else was 20%, 30%, right? And so I believe that most humans are, the thing they're trying to feel and trying to find in this life is fulfillment. which requires balance and it requires discipline. Now, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be 100% in all of these areas. It's unattainable. But I would rather be 70 or 80 in all these important areas of my life than 100 full here and 20% across the board.
Man, so much wisdom there. So much wisdom. I urge you guys to go back and listen to that because a couple things to unpack. Balance, right? The more balance you have, I think if you just look at anything, let's say you play basketball.
Yep.
If you have good balance on the court, you're a better basketball player,
Yep.
right? If you're a gymnast, there's this thing called a balance beam, right? If you have really good balance, you're better on that beam, right?
Parenting, providing balance to your kids. I mean,
There's so many things. Like, here's a great example. You even said it, being present.
yeah,
Be present, be present, be present. But however, there's a balance to that as well. Because you can be fully present. And I would argue that the people that are the most successful in any area of life, they're present, but they also think about the future a lot. They have goals of where they want to be.
Sure.
They're gratefully unsatisfied.
yeah,
They're grateful with what they have, but they're unsatisfied with it. They want more.
yeah,
They want more happiness. They want more joy. They want more connection. They want more money. They're present, but there's a balance that they're also thinking in the future,
yeah,
right? Unsuccessful people, they're hardly ever present. What are they usually? They're thinking in the past.
yeah,
They're thinking of something they can't control.
yeah,
You have control over one thing, total control,
yes.
present moment.
Or they think way too much about the future that they forget that work is required in the now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So then they don't put in the work
Yeah.
in the present to get to where
To
they
get to
want
where they want to go.
Right. So again,
Balance.
that's the balance.
That's right.
So you touched on that, which I just wanted to kind of reiterate. One thing you also touched on, and I'm going to challenge you on this,
Yeah,
is you said that pie, it's cut into 5 different spots. Each spot can never get to 100%. Why not? I think a lot of times we always say nothing can be perfect. Well, yeah, it's not going to be if we say it isn't,
sure.
right? Why can't we have 100% love, 100% on our money, 100% on our relationships, 100% on our health? Why can't we? Like you said, it's not possible, right?
Yep.
Impossible literally is impossible, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So just pushing back on that, because I know you do the same thing with, if anything, that I would say, but I think if we tell ourselves something isn't possible, it's not going to be.
Yeah.
The second we start saying, you know what, screw that, I think it is possible, and I'm gonna do everything I can to get to it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll put this to money, because money's easy because you can put a number on it.
Yeah.
Let's say my goal is to make $5 million, right? And I fall short. I make $4 million. What if I made my goal $10 million and I fall short and make 7?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to shoot for the stars. And if I miss, I land on the moon. Super cliche,
Yeah.
but just some things I want to unpack there. And one thing also you said is you talk to men a lot about these things. You have a coaching coming out about just helping men get to the next level. Sorry, ladies. I know he's a hunk of a man to look at, but he's married. He's off the market. He will not be coaching you. All right. Men only. Let's talk about that and kind of when that's going to be available, if it's available, how
Sure.
people can learn from you, because there's a lot of wisdom to be picked up from you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think there are several things to unpack just in the coaching area. Women, I am not discriminating. I would love to be able to be helpful, but I believe there are others that can be better facilitators of our women's community, and we will be developing that, but we want to make sure that we've got sort of a platform where that can be successful in the future. So it will come. one thing you said, which I'm flattered, is a lot of wisdom to be shared there. I don't think about the coaching community that I'm building next year as in any way, shape, or form the Tyler Hall Show. Hey, come and listen to me and learn from me, and I've got what it takes, and look, I'm successful. And I think there are some areas where I can lean in and be really helpful to men. But I think the community aspect and the ability to bring the right influence into the community, to serve the community, is where our program is going to be incredibly powerful. And I think there's a lot of amazing programs out there, and I have several friends that have built communities, for men and for women and other things. And, but I just want it to be very clear that this community is not about me. It's about them. A couple of things have happened in the last several months that really have encouraged me and inspired me to go and do this. And, I had somebody who's very, very close to me in my life, call me about 6 months ago and say, basically just say, hey man, before I met you, I was contemplating taking my life, and you've inspired me to not do that. And a few days ago, one of my wife's close friends, her husband took his life here, just right down the street from here. And just in the last few weeks, man, I've had 4 or 5 conversations with men that have contemplated suicide in the last year. It's getting bad, and it's not being talked about. And damn it, guys, speak up, right? We're so prideful that we have to be the rock, we have to be the man, but just speak up. You got to say something, right? You've seen a couple of UFC fighters. I think Paddy Pimblett came out and said something. He's a UFC fighter, about men needing to talk. That really inspired me. And I think oftentimes we as men, we bottle these things up and we internalize them, and they build and they build and they build, and they get so bad that we feel like we are beyond the ability to open up and share with a licensed therapist, a professional, or just with a friend, somebody that we trust.
Right.
And we get to a point neurologically where we go, well, this just isn't going to work. I would rather just disappear than go through the pain of trying to work through this. And a lot of times this pain, this deep-rooted pain, to me, really comes from a place of is there somebody that I can trust to pick up the phone and call and talk to? That's it. Most men don't have that.
Right.
Over 90% of men don't feel like they have somebody that they could pick up the phone and call. Over 90%. The suicide rate among men is higher today than it's ever been. And it's just progressively getting worse. So my program is not about just making more money, just being more healthy, just having more relationships, just having more purpose and finding fulfillment, and developing better habits and routines. These are things that you will learn that will benefit your life. But it's really to help us stay on top of things mentally before they potentially get out of hand. And I feel like I can save a lot of lives through it.
It's beautiful. It kind of speaks to, you have a bigger why, right? Like, you can achieve so much when you know what your why is. And you've been lucky enough to get to a point in your life where, you don't really have to make more money, right? You've got enough money. So now you can really lean into these things that are more of a passion for you, right? So not everyone's there, but I'm a believer that if someone's done it, it's possible. So you've done it. You've gotten to a point where you don't really have to make more money. I've done it where I've got enough passive income. I don't need to work anymore. So now you just do things you want to do, not what you have to do, right? And the suicide thing, man, that strikes a chord with me because I've had those thoughts. Not anytime recently, but in the darkest times of my life, 2016, I thought about it a lot. I was very, very down, very just rock bottom. And I was just like, this could all go away. All this pain could go away.
Yeah.
One pull of a trigger. Gone. Could all go away. And that's because of what's going on in between our ears. Right?
For sure.
I had one of the hardest conversations I've ever had to have about 6 months ago. Client of mine, so I set up life insurance policies. Not for the death benefit, for the cash value so that people can use the money while they're alive, but there's still a death benefit. I won't give names, but husband and wife got policies, 2 younger kids, and husband hung himself. I had to call the wife, let her know that she's not getting the death benefit because there's a suicide clause. Within 2 years, if you kill yourself, there's no death benefit. This lady's barely keeping it together. She got 2 young kids. And she asked me, she's like, so it's the last thing I really want to do right now. I'd rather have my husband. But how do I get the death benefit for this? I had to tell her that she isn't getting it.
Yeah.
You know? But again, that comes from what's going on up here. That guy was in so much pain because of what was going on up here. And to your point, us men, we don't ask for help. Perfect example. Every man on the face of the planet, if you're watching or listening, you will agree with this 100%. When you're with your wife, you're trying to go somewhere, you're trying to look for something. Let's say you're at the grocery store. Where are the crackers? Where are the crackers? You're not going to ask anybody for help. Like, there might be all the employees in the world there. You could easily say, hey, where are the crackers at? Nope, I'm finding them, right?
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I don't ask anyone for directions. I don't ask anyone for help. Like, where's something at? My wife's always like, oh my God. Excuse me, where are the crackers? They find the crackers right then and there, right? Aisle 8. So, men, speak up, man. Just ask for help. That's what his community is going to give. When does that start?
We're going to launch it January 1st.
Okay.
So we've been, working on the program now for a few months, and we're going to have a lot of really good things in there. I'm launching it with a really close friend of mine named Eddie Pinero, who is just a wealth of wisdom himself. He's a self-help motivational speaker, has a ton of value to add, and a really big community that's been asking him for a long time when he would do something like this. And so the two of us are launching the program together. And the other thing that we're doing, Devin, is, we know that it's impossible for the two of us to reach everybody. Sorry to use the word impossible again, okay? But our belief is that,
there we go,
to give us a higher chance of being able to reach everybody, we are developing, with the software background, developing the platform whereby other coaches, people like you, for example, can go and build their coaching programs on top of this thing. So, we want to make it very easy for anybody who wants to build a community. I even have a hard time calling it coaching. I do coach CEOs, formal coaching, very structured, formal coaching, like a basketball coach, but for CEOs. What we're building, to me, is less coaching. I will utilize some of my skills from that, but it really is about community.
Yeah.
And so for others that want to, men or women that want to build communities, we're going to be offering our platform for them to be able to do that easily. So
love it. So the biggest thing, guys, that you should take away from that is community is so important. It's so important. You said one of your biggest drivers is relationships. right?
100%.
You want to have tons of quality relationships. And I think that is the most important thing, because I think about this a lot. I don't know if you ever do. I think about my death. Not that I want to die, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen. So I think about it a lot. I think it's going to happen a long time from now, because I'm very healthy. I eat very clean. I work out 6 to 7 days a week. I've got a high level of income. So certain technologies come around with AI and all that. Like, I'm going to live a very long time, God willing, as long as I don't get hit by a car or something, right? So let's say 120, 130, 140, who knows? I think about this.
Yeah.
And it's like, when that day happens, nobody's going to remember the cars I bought. They're not going to remember the investments I did. They're not going to remember the clothes I had, all the Jordans, which I didn't wear them today. You wore yours. They're not going to remember any of these things. Look at them things. Those are party. Those are party. But they're not going to remember those things.
Yeah.
They're going to remember how I made them feel. And how do you make someone feel something is by a relationship, right? The closer that relationship, the closer you can bring your energy. You said it with your wife. You guys are two separate people, right? Independent. She doesn't need you. You don't need her. But together, you're better. You guys have made it to where you're almost one. Your energy is one. You guys are one.
Yeah.
Right? The closer that energy gets, the stronger the relationship. That's what people are going to remember at your eulogy. How you made them feel. The more people that are there, that means that you impacted more people. You built a bigger community.
For sure.
Right?
Yep.
My biggest fear is my death, the day of my death, nobody being there. It's my biggest fear. I'm on my deathbed and no one's there. That comes from relationships, right? So, not saying I'm perfect, guys. I am always working at getting better, building relationships, cultivating them, making sure that I connect, making sure I'm present here with you so we can connect. Because think about this. If I was constantly on my phone, the connection wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be with you. I'd be here.
For sure.
So I love what you're building, man. I absolutely think it's going to change a lot of lives.
Thanks,
help
brother.
a lot of people. How can people follow you?
Tyler.Hall on Instagram. That's probably the best place to follow or get in touch. A lot of what we're working on and building is going to be showcased there.
Or you can call them 602. Just kidding. Just give out your number. I don't know about heart.
The Roller Coaster podcast is the podcast that we started building at the beginning of this year. That's helping a lot of people, and it's evident in just the audience that we built so far. So check that out. And I love when people reach out too. So if anything that was said today was meaningful to you, love to hear that feedback and love to hear from people. So.
Yeah, so everybody, please share this episode with anyone that you know that could get value from just being in a hard spot in their life and dealing with, curveballs, because life isn't always going to throw you just an easy one right down the center of the plate. It throws curveballs. You have to be able to hit them. And Tyler's done an amazing job at taking the curveballs life has given him, and hopefully you learned a little bit of how you might be able to navigate what you're going through if you're going through something tough. I urge you to put a comment below, biggest takeaway that you got from this, or questions you have. Like, if you have questions for me, I'll make sure to get back to them. If there are questions that are for Tyler, I'll ask him, or maybe he can respond in it. Who knows? But I love you guys. Until next time. Peace.